Start it up.
Hi, I'm Sydney. Come take a tour of my van. Welcome to my kitchen. On this side over here, like the passenger side, just to help orient you, I have a flip-up counter to just kind of give some more space if I'm washing dishes or cooking something with a lot of stuff out. Next to that is a very deep sink, which is something I really wanted. I have a filtered water faucet? Is that the right word? Spout? You know what I'm saying. Then the main one, of course, has cold and hot water. I have a water heater these days. We love. Soap dispenser. Next to that, I have a 2-burner induction stove. I really only ever need one, but there's 2 just in case. Below that is my oven. It does all of the things. Highly recommend, honestly. Use it every single day. I have some storage below, 3 drawers, a cabinet, and some just dry storage. Below the dry storage is my heater, my Webasto heater. Opposite of all of that, I have my fridge. This is a Vitrifrigo fridge, which I also love. It's kind of an upgrade from my past isotherm, my feelings at least. And my countertops were sourced locally in San Diego. That's where my van was built out. And it is like a composite slab made to kind of look like marble, but it's actually half as thin, so it's less heavy all in the middle. And then we doubled it just along the outer edges so that it would look like it was a little bit thicker. I don't know, kind of give it a nicer feel. The storage that is directly to my left here is all of my coffee stuff on level number 1. Level 2 is all my cups and glassware, and then level 3 is the very necessary wine storage for 3 bottles of wine, which I'm actually all out of right now for this tour, but typically she's full. For these upper cabinets, I actually saw a picture on Pinterest when I was building out the van, and it was in a house, so I asked the builder if there was any way that we could do something like it in the van, and he said absolutely. His name is Ike Baker, and we love him. So we picked red oak. It was between white oak or red oak, and I think I just liked this color a little bit better, and he single-handedly just cut. Like, he knows the exact number of things that he had to do, and so it just kind of gives a really clean look where you can almost not quite tell where each upper cabinet starts and ends, and so I think that's just kind of a unique thing about the van. This is the bedroom. This is almost a king-size bed. I think it's just shy of a king size. We do sleep lengthwise because me and Henry, my partner, we're just both very tall, so we like to sleep that way. And then with the flares, which do add so much space to the width of the van, we kind of use as our nightstands. So there is red oak on each of those sides where we can set our waters at night, our phones. There's a USB plug and a USB-C. As for the bed itself, I think we just got it's like the green tea 6-inch mattress something. It's what everyone has, I swear, off Amazon. It's inexpensive, but it's a really comfortable bed, so that's kind of where I did that. Bunch of pillows from Target that get changed out often, not even from a design aspect, just because they get so dirty with dogs and vans. I just have to do that to keep up with it. And then everything else behind me is my clothing. I grew up in Indianapolis, Indiana, and did not travel too much as a kid, and I always kind of wanted to see the world and just travel anywhere in general. And then I went to school in Chicago, which is just a few hours away, and I think that alone just got me away from home and got me more comfortable kind of moving around and meeting new people. And it was while I was in school in Chicago that I saw someone on social media back in 2017 living in a van, and something in that moment for me just clicked, and it made a lot more sense to me than flying around the world, paying for hotels, and that always just kind of intimidated me. I think it stopped me, even just at that age, from really trying much. And I don't know why. The van is also intimidating, but it did not scare me quite as much. So I got a van like a year later and moved into that in 2017, and that was my first van. And I have been on the road officially for 6 years. These are inside of the van lights. These 3 you can kind of see a little better now. This last one is floor lighting. It's like toe kick lighting, which is really nice to have at night. If you're watching the projector, definitely sets a good vibe. And then just another thing to kind of touch on, instead of having plain white, I also wanted to add a little texture, which is something I tend to do just so it adds a little something instead of just being plain white. The electrical hub, there's a lot going on in here. I do have some gear, my Kindle, podcast mic, iPad, laptop. These are the little details that I also can appreciate. This was specifically made for these devices. I have 600 amp hours of Light Harvest solar power, and right now you can see I'm currently at 93.8%, which is pretty good. Up on top, connected to the batteries, I do have 380 watts of solar. It's just one huge solar panel from Light Harvest Solar as well. All right, now we are in my work area. It's definitely multifunctional. I wanted this space for like a desk. So at night, I just remove this table, which is on a lagoon mount, put it up front in the van, and then I'm currently sitting on slats that pull all the way out, and my golden retriever has her own little bed at night. And then it's also a full bench inside. So there's a little dog hole, if you have seen that, and that is where Pearl likes to hang out and live. I turned it into a little apartment area, so she has a bed in there, she has some mood lighting, she has some plants, there's a little picture of the two of us, and so she gets just to hang out in there all the time, and it's one of her favorite places. So desk area, dog bed, and dog apartment. 5 years ago, I was in my second van, and it was just me and my golden retriever, Ella, and she was like my co-pilot. She was the reason I got out of my van most days. I'm definitely a homebody, even though I do live in a van, and I think without her, I would have struggled to just like go on walks every day and get outside first thing in the morning. And so having her with me was an essential piece to me staying on the road as long as I have, because she was just my best friend. She definitely kept me from ever feeling lonely, just having another being in the van with me. And about 4.5 to 5 years ago, I pulled into a dog park in San Diego. It's called Dog Beach. And I saw a guy get out of a van with a dog. And I just thought it was like worthy of a conversation. I hadn't made a lot of friends on the road at this point. And I struck up a conversation. We talked for a few minutes, and then he disappeared. He had to go chase his dog because now I know his name is Finn, but Finn ran off. So I actually showed back up to the dog park the next day because I needed to walk my dog. I also had my fingers crossed that Henry would be there, and he was. He was parked in the exact same spot, so I approached him again, which is also quite unlike me. But I approached him, we exchanged numbers that day, we became really good van friends for about 2.5 years. We traveled together for months at a time, caravan style, and it was always very platonic. And then we would not see each other for several months, and we would totally do our own thing. Had tons of mutual friends, separate friends, but he was someone that I cared about and had in my life for a long time. And about 2 years ago, 2.5 maybe, we kind of had a conversation back in San Diego, just kind of a coincidence. We were sipping some wine, and we were just sitting in his van and had a conversation about potentially dating. And so we actually started dating that week, and we are getting married. From filming this, we're getting married in about 2 to 3 weeks from today. So my wedding dress is actually sitting in the front seat of my van. And Finn, his dog, has served the exact same purpose that I was talking about with Ella for me. He has done the same thing for Henry the entire time. So we always attribute like Finn and Ella to being such a core piece to our story, because nothing would have ever happened without those two dogs. They really brought us back together over and over and over. Wow. This is a dog gate. So I have a golden retriever, like I've mentioned, and I mean, first of all, it's beautiful. It's the same red oak that we've seen in the van, but this is just a way for my golden retriever to not jump out of the van. Yes, it looks fairly low because I am a tall human, but I promise when she is standing here, she's a little bit lower to the ground. This is just a perfect barrier so that if a dog goes by or someone's running by, she does not feel like she can jump out of my van and go towards them. So this has been a very nice barrier, but also it just, I think, looks nice, and I appreciate that. I have some dog bowls, but we did want to, first of all, elevate them for the dogs, but also use this space as some storage. So I have leashes, like bags and a brush, stuff like that around here. And then also, if I want to bring the water bowls outside or do anything else or just clean the space, it pops off entirely and you have all of the dog stuff there. This is my garage area. So starting off all the way to my right, this is the driver's side as well. This is where I keep all of my electrical stuff. This is also something I would keep for the professionals if I ever needed help. All I know is that big red button will turn everything off if I need everything to turn off. So all my batteries and stuff is there. Here in the middle is a full like pull out tray, kind of a garage tray. So it's like, I think weighted for maybe 500 pounds or so. This is just where I keep a ton of stuff like my paddleboard, my checked bag if I need to go to like an international trip or go somewhere, just a bunch of random things I don't use quite as often. And then on my left, on the passenger side, I have my water. One is the gravity fill, and then this one is for the hose. So I can fill it up 2 different ways depending on where I am and kind of what circumstances I'm facing. And then below that is my shower. So the hose pulls all the way out, and then I have the temperature gauge on the right next to that. So this van is my third, and I got it straight from the Ford dealership. The van itself, completely empty, was about $75,000. I did finance that. I think I put $20,000 exactly down. And then for the build, it took a year to build out. So I did get to pay that in installments, but the total for the build in general was about $100,000. Half of that being for the materials, and then half of that going into the labor as well. And I understand those numbers sometimes are really scary and really big, but I do think it's important for people to understand that my first van was like $8,000, and that took a lot of hard work, several jobs for a while to even save up to that point. And then once that van was gone, my second van was closer to about $20,000, and then I recently sold that one, and also I lived in my second van for 5 years. So I had the opportunity for 5 years to not pay mortgage, not pay rent, and live as low cost as possible. And thankfully, I'm also in a position now where I'm actually earning income as well, which was not always the case on the road. And so I'm really grateful that after that amount of time, I've been able to essentially move into my absolute dream van. I am a content creator on social media. I always have weird hesitancy about sharing that. I'm really proud of what I do actually, and I love my job, but I think there's sometimes like a stereotype or a stigma, especially with van life, that we all just make content. That was not my intention when I moved into my van originally, but I love sharing my life. It's something that I enjoy, and so I was doing it naturally. Brands started reaching out to me and asking if they could work with me and if they could pay me to promote their products, and a lot of the times it was products I was using and already knew about and loved, and it felt really silly for me to say no to those types of things, especially when I was financially struggling. So that is kind of my business now, and it's just grown and grown, and yeah, I think my gratitude is never ending because of the life I get to live now. Thank you so much for watching. If you do want to follow along my journey on the road, it is Divine on the Road on all platforms, YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok mostly is where I post. I do have a clothing line. It's kind of a van life streetwear brand. It's called Roads of Gold if you're interested in that. And then lastly, I have a coffee business as well called Divine on the Roast, and I am passionate about coffee very much so you can always check that out as well. But thank you for being here.